Hi, welcome to your new moon May 2020 update. Are you living in alignment with what you actually value? The reason I ask is because this lunar cycle is about realigning with your values, your identity, and examining your attachment. Sexy stuff, huh? Well, this is all so that you can nurture and grow in order to be happy and not just have pleasure. We need to understand there's a difference between that. I'm Prema Gurreri, Vedic Astrologer and Soul Guide, and I'm glad you're here with me today. Go ahead and click the subscribe, the like button, hit the bell notification so you don't miss an update. I'm here to help you to chart your path and activate your divine gifts. So this new moon that's happening in Vedic Astrology in Taurus, this is an exalted new moon. It's auspicious. Now remember, a new moon cycle is a new cycle of energy for the next 30 days. And this is in Taurus. It's an exalted moon. It's very strong. And the moon is also representational in Vedic astrology of our consciousness, manas, mind and consciousness. This is a place where our values are important. We develop them, but also we need to realign them. Where it's stable. The consciousness is stable. It's strong, enduring, and has a reverence for beauty and art. And there's a creative nature here too. And ultimately, the energy here is the desire for harmony, harmony of being, harmony with happiness in one's life, harmony with the family, and harmony with the world at large. Well, we're in a place of not so much harmony right now, so it's very important that we're all reassessing our values, what's important to us, really what makes us happy, not just what gives us pleasure, because there's actually a difference between that. So this alignment of, are you aligned with your values or not? Are you stuck in the old paradigm? It's important for you to get up to speed with what you are currently believing, because the truth is things are changing, and I think a lot of us are really being challenged in our belief systems and our value systems, and this new moon is going to help you to sort that out if you get up to speed and really put your soul energy into that. I'm going to give you some tools to help you do that, because we're going to really need to have this sorted out as we go into June and the beginning of July. We have 3 eclipses, changes afoot, and I'm going to do another video about that. But we have a lunar eclipse on June 5th, the solar eclipse on June 21st, and then another lunar eclipse on July 4th. There's going to be a lot of shifting energy. We just had a bunch of planets go retrograde. Things are moving and shaking, and it's time for you to wake up a little bit more and get very clear. Get absolutely clear with what you hold important to you, because you want to be able to hold that and help the collective change that is afoot right now. And I know you're taking in a lot of different information, and it's hard to sort it out sometimes. So if you come back to your value system and what you value, then you can weigh the information against your values and see if it's in alignment or not. And then you know where to put your energy. So I want to invite you to touch in with, really what you value, and whether that is, like I happen to value consciousness, personal growth, family, caring for the planet, a rising consciousness, eating really good food, growing my own food. The things that I value help to raise my consciousness and actually bring me happiness and serve my purpose in the world. But in what you value, it's also some of the places that we get attached. And we've got Venus here in this placement and retrograding and soon to combust the sun. And our attachments are, some of them are going to really come up for us. Now, I want you to understand that your attachments are not all bad, meaning that we need to have healthy attachments in our life. And our values help us to understand where we have those healthy attachments, or where we're attached to something that is not valuable to us, does not serve our values, and that we need to break those attachments. Our attachments happen because that is part of our identity, and underneath all of that is our story. So let me dig in a little bit further here, because the lunar mansion that this is happening in Vedic astrology is Kritika, and there is a desire for Kama, and Kama means the fulfillment of desires, which again comes down to our happiness. Now, this is different than our pleasure. It might be very pleasurable to you to eat some candy, or to indulge in something, or overindulge in binging on TV or whatever it might be. But does that truly bring you happiness in the end? This is what's important for you to look at during this time. Really, where is your happiness? You're going to have the support here with this very stable, enduring, artistic, and creative energy. And Kritika has the ability to burn through, or to cut away the negativity and get down to the deepest truth. It's a desire really for purification. So we want to get to the pure values. So the lesson here with this new moon in Kritika is discipline over you, over your desires, over your heart's desires, and discipline over pleasure versus happiness, so that you engage with what brings you happiness, healing, and vitality, which all brings you harmony, as opposed to engaging what might feel pleasurable in the moment, but ends up giving you pain and distress, or a feeling of emptiness in the end. Those are the two ends of the spectrum, and you're being called to make some peace around that, and to reevaluate what you're holding dear, what you're considering as valuable. I mean, think of, values. It is what you hold dear. It is what has a lot of energetic currency for you. So I want to invite you to spend some time and really look at what your values are. Literally, like, take a piece of paper out and write down, like, what are you valuing in the basic areas of your life, in your spirituality, in your path, in your purpose, in your relationships. And that's a big one right now. We have a big theme on relationships with Venus, and also in your spirituality, in your wealth, how you fulfill your purpose, how you acquire what you need to fulfill your purpose. And your Sacred Wealth Code, and you can take the quiz, the link is down below, or get a Sacred Wealth Code reading, is very much about that. It helps you to understand what your gifts are, where your purpose and your prosperity, where they come together, so that you can acquire the wealth you need to fulfill your purpose. Again, we're talking about, what you're valuing, and some of the ways to understand what that is. Now, how you value something, and where you're at a value in those areas. So if you were to write down in all those different areas what you actually are valuing right now, and then you want to go through and see how high a value is that for you, or do you now have a higher value given the landscape of your life at this moment, and how things are changing, the unknown that is present and the new knowns as we're shifting this paradigm. What is most value to you? And I want you to add potentially a different hierarchy to your value system. And then the big thing is, are you really walking your talk with your values? And then how could you walk your talk even more authentically with your values? So if a high value to you is to be on purpose, how are you doing that? How are you showing up for that in your daily life? If relationships and integrity within relationships is of high value to you, how can you upgrade that? How can you actually have more integrity in your relationships? Does that mean telling the truth more? Does that mean appreciating people more? So these are the values you want to look at, and then how can you upgrade those values, and which do you just need to let go of, so that you can allow your identity to start to shift and change to more of a higher potential of yourself that is able also to be connected to a deeper level of happiness. And happiness is important. I don't mean happiness in a light way. I mean, joy and happiness allows our vibration to be much higher, and means usually that we're on a purposeful path, and we can affect those around us also with our energy, instead of pulling other people down. The fact is that you're either contributing and adding energy, or you're taking energy and you're sucking it away. Be a contributor, and evaluating your values and having the support to do it, and in a creative way, because of where this is happening in Taurus. Maybe this means that you're going to do this make this list in an artistic way. Maybe you're going to just get really creative about it, because we have this creative energy with Venus here as well in this placement. So it's time to take a look at this. Now, understand that the reason we have some of the values we have is because that holds our identity in place. But when you shift a value, So maybe at some point a certain relationship was high value to you, and now you realize that, wow, that relationship is actually costing me a lot of energetic currency, and I'm not valuing it for the right reasons. And so maybe you need to shift that relationship, or shift your relationship to that relationship. And when you do that, you're actually shifting your story around it, yourself, and you're shifting your identity. What are you identified with? Our identity holds us back in a lot of ways, and the more we're willing to release our identity where it is not serving us, then we make space to find out really who we are at a deeper level. So those around you too, if as they're reevaluating their values and shifting their identity and maybe even changing their story, which is a deep subject I want to talk to you about in a further video, give them the grace and space to do that. Sometimes somebody's wanting to shift a value and you're in close relationship with them and you're making it hard for them to do that. Give people the grace and space to shift and change, because this placement can also be very stubborn and very stuck. So where you're feeling stuck or you're feeling stubborn about something, I guarantee you there's gold under there. So get down into it and be willing to get humble with yourself. Be willing to mix the energy up and to get unstuck, because really that's just you trying to hold your identity in place. But I guarantee you there's a greater version of yourself if you're willing to step out of that old reality. And there's so much that's new and different right now that we can tend to hold on to the pieces that that we do know and get stuck there. It's time for a lot to shift. So be really honest with yourself. This Taurus also rules in Vedic astrology your speech, food, what goes into your mouth and what comes out of your mouth. So some of your values might be around these areas as well. So you want to make the changes, and you want to evaluate these areas in life. Now, our attachments have a lot to do with Venus, the planet Venus, which is the great connector in the Sacred Wealth Code Archetype system. It's the collaborator. I think I have the collaborator up here today. It's the connector. It's also the muse. And it's very strong in Taurus. It's going to be there until August, beginning of August. Yet it's in retrograde, which is fine, but we're re-looking at some of our attachments and our healthy attachments. If we didn't have healthy attachments, we wouldn't love and take care of each other and our pets and the planet. That's useful. But we have our unhealthy attachments where we're attached and it's not serving us, or it's not serving others, or it's not serving the planet. So for instance, you might be attached to eating something that has a packaging that's really polluting for the planet. So that attachment isn't serving anymore. So you need to reevaluate that and relook at that. The attachments we're mostly going to see, this is going to hit you uniquely wherever Taurus is in your Vedic astrology chart, but it's going collectively to be about relationships. So I just want to give you a little warning, especially from May 28th until about the 9th, 10th of June. You're going to want you want something deeper in relationship. And those who you want deeper with may or may not be able to meet you in that place of depth. And so this is where you may be breaking some attachments. So I want you to be looking out for that and be gracious about it. Realize that the depth that you want, maybe you can't meet it in a certain relationship, but it can be met somewhere else. This is collectively going to be up for all of us. So we need to be very compassionate with ourselves and each other, and realize the real deep relationship is with the divine. And if you're not spending time communing with the divine, then in whatever practice you have, I do that through meditation and through devotion and devotional practices, however you do it, I encourage you to do that and have some grace and space with each other on that. But you may end up feeling a little empty. You may end up feeling like nobody meets you there. And you can put a healing salve on that by getting devoted in with your practices and communing with the divine and realizing that depth really is that deep place in your heart. So you want your values to be aligned with your true happiness, not just your pleasure, and so that your happiness can sustain you. Now, before we close out here, I also want to remind you, again, with Kritika, this nakshatra where this is taking place, it has that cutting nature, so it's able to help you to cut that attachment, which is good, okay? And be able to release and relinquish what's not serving you anymore. And this is a cutting through the illusion, what's not really real. We all need to come to a place that is more real for all of us. Saturn's aspecting this, the great administrator in the Sacred Wealth Code system, the great organizer. There's also a video on that on Saturn, and there is a link to that down below as well. So with this, Saturn's wanting you to reorganize your values, restructure. We have a deep aspect for that. And then Jupiter's aspecting here as well. So we have the planets of light, Venus and Jupiter, with their light, with the light aspecting. And so we've got even more light being shown on your values. So use this auspicious time to get clear and upgrade your values, create space for others to upgrade their values as well. So share, subscribe, hit the bell notification so that you don't miss any of my updates on charting your path. So much love to you.